All right. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we're going to continue our study of the Urantia life. We're in section 6, the Urantia World Seraphim Transition Ministers. And we're on the very first paragraph there. So let's say a little prayer and we'll get started. Father, thank you for this wonderful revelation. Thank you for all these wonderful people that listen to our ravings every Tuesday and Thursday night. We thank you for the opportunity to share this with others, and thank you for the opportunity to learn this in this life so that we'll be prepared for that which is to come. I pray you'll give us the ability to remember some of this, to share this with our friends and relatives, and we thank you in the name of your son, Michael Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, the transition ministers. Let me show you all a little slide to start out tonight. All right. And this slide is from the paper on the seraphic hosts. All right. And this is a slide of the transition ministers. This is not in the section we're in. This is under the seraphim. So I just wanted to show this to y'all. And it says here, as their name might suggest, seraphim of transitional ministry serve wherever they can contribute to creature transition from the material to the spiritual estate. These angels serve from the inhabited worlds, like we have now, to the system capitals, but those in Satania at present direct their greatest effort toward the education of the surviving mortals of the 7 mansion worlds. So these are actually angels that we have on this planet all the time. And this, just for y'all's information, this is under the transition minister section of paper. Let me give me a second. I'll get up here and tell you the number if you want to look that up later. A lot in this paper. This is on the seraphim. Where am I at? There we go. The seraphic host, paper 39. Okay. All right. Here we go. Number 6. Diane, you want to start out tonight?
While all orders of angels, from the planetary helpers to the supreme seraphim, minister on the Urantia worlds, the transition ministers are more exclusively assigned to these activities. These angels are of the 6th order of seraphic servers, and their ministry is devoted to facilitating the transit of material and mortal creatures from the temporal life in the flesh on into the early stages of Urantia existence on the 7 mansion worlds.
Okay, so these are the supreme seraphim, and they minister on the Urantia worlds, right? And it's interesting, it says here that they are the 6th order of seraphic servers. Now, what exactly that means, I am not exactly sure. I assume there's probably 7 orders of seraphic servers, and this is the 6th order of them. All right. But it's interesting to see here that they help us transit from the material to the spiritual. And they do that all the way through all the 7 mansion worlds and all the Urantia existences we have all the way up to the local universe, which is pretty nice, right? All right.
Roger?
Yeah.
Did you say that the transition ministers are supreme seraphim?
They are supreme seraphim. Yeah, yeah. Well, no, that's not right. They are 6th order seraphim. They assist the supreme seraphim. That's what it is. Okay, so they're not supreme seraphim themselves.
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah. Did I say that? I misquoted them.
Yeah, they're helpers to the supreme seraphim.
That's right. They're helpers to the supreme seraphim, right? They're the 6th order. Probably the supreme seraphim, more than likely, are the 7th order. I would think. Could be wrong, but I would think that's the way it works. Rodney, would you take the next one?
You should understand that the Urantia life of an ascending mortal is really initiated on the inhabited worlds at the conception of the soul. At that moment, when the creature mind of moral status is indwelt by the spirit adjuster. And from that moment on, the mortal soul has potential capacity for super mortal function, even for recognition on the higher levels of the Urantia spheres of the local universe.
Okay, so that tells you when the conception of the soul is, right? When the adjuster comes. Before that, what are you? You're attached to your parents, right? We talked about this when young children die, right? That's why when they are reawakened on the mansion worlds, they have to wait till one of the two parents arrives on the mansion world to be reawakened. They're attached to the parents. But this is where the soul begins. And at that moment, when the adjuster arrives, you have potential for supermortal function, and you also have potential to do what? Go on the ascension plan, right? So really your Urantia life kind of starts on that moment when the adjuster arrives, because you have what? You have a spirit. That's why it says here, spirit adjuster. All right, so you go from being just a mortal to being indwelt by this spirit adjuster, right, which you fuse with eventually. All right.
So what you're saying then is, say a child dies of crib death
Right.
before the adjuster attaches itself.
Right.
And so he will be in suspense until the parents die and go on to Urantia, and then his soul will be reawakened.
That's right. That's right, Gary. And when that child reaches about 5.5 years old on the mansion worlds, on the planet where the children grow up, when it reaches 5.5, then it will get an adjuster just like any other child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but up to that point, it's just like it is here on Earth. Okay. So, so if you have a child that dies in crib death, you get the opportunity to raise that child when you get to the first mansion world. All right. Let's see. Jane, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. You will not, however, be conscious of the ministry of the transaction seraphim until you attain the mentioned worlds, where they labor untiringly for the advancement of their mortal pupils by assigned for service in the following 7 divisions.
Okay, so they're helping us on this planet while we're here, but we're not aware of them, right? We won't be aware of them until we get to the first mansion world. All right, and this is the 7 divisions. We'll go through that. Millie, would you take the first one?
Yes. Seraphic evangels. The moment you conscientize on the mansion worlds, you are classified as evolving spirits in the records of the system. True, you are not yet spirits in reality, but you are no longer mortal or material beings. You have embarked upon the pre-spirit career and have been duly admitted to the Urantia life.
Okay, so the minute you awaken, all right, as far as the mansion worlds are concerned, you have embarked on your pre-spirit career, all right, on that very first awakening, on that very first mansion world. All right. Okay, Gary, would you take the next one, please?
On the mansion worlds, the seraphic evangels will help you choose wisely among the optional routes to Edentia, Salvington, Uversa, and Havona. If there are a number of equally advisable routes, These will be put before you, and you will be permitted to select the one that most appeals to you. These seraphim then make recommendations to the 24 advisors on Jerusalem concerning that course which would be most advantageous
For each ascending soul. Gary popped that on us there for a second. So this tells us that there's multiple routes you can take to go through your ascension plan. All right. What you can imagine with hundreds and thousands of planets out there that we have to go through to get there, that there's lots of variations we could take from one planet to the next, or one course of study to the next, et cetera, et cetera. And so these seraphic evangels help us make the right decisions for our type of personality to make our ascension most advantageous to us, each individually. And the final decision on this is made by the 4 and 20 advisors. Y'all remember what the 4 and 20 advisors are? Right? Okay. That including John the Baptist and all the spiritual giants down through the time end up as advisors eventually on this 4 and 20 council, including Adam and Eve are on it right now, right? So there's lots of beings from our planet on this council, all 24 right now from this.
Roger, I can't remember. Are there 24 counselors for each planet?
Each, yeah,
They're
for each
represented
planet.
for each.
They're
Okay,
represented for
I
each planet.
understand.
And the ones that will make the decisions for us come from our planet.
Right,
Right.
that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Then I've got a question too, or maybe a comment. It would be very hard to choose a route when you don't have information.
Any idea? Yeah, that's exactly.
So they
right.
must, roughly educate you on what to expect.
They would have
each
to,
route.
because we go in blindly, right?
Maybe they show videos. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But definitely they have to educate us on the routes possible and which ways we might want to go. Now, remember too, there's other courses of study we can take on the way too. For instance, you can become a celestial astronomer for 1,000 years. You decide to stop off and do that on your ascension plan, so that would be one of the variations we're talking about here. So it's just not as plain as day as you would think as which way you would go. All right. Diane, would you take the next one, please?
You are not given unrestricted choice as to your future course, but you may choose within the limits of that which the transition ministers and their superiors wisely determine to be most suitable for your future spirit attainment. The spirit world is governed on the principle of respecting your free will choice, provided the course you may choose is not detrimental to you or injurious to your fellows.
So really they're counselors in a way. They're kind of like, when you go to college and you have a counselor help you decide which courses you want to take, right? It's more along that line than anything else, because we're, like I said, we're kind of going in blind. So they help us. They know who we are. They know our past. So they help us make the decisions that'll be most advantageous to us and not detrimental to someone else. So Rodney, would you take the next one?
All right. These seraphic evangels are dedicated to the proclamation of the gospel of eternal progression, the triumph of perfection attainment. On the mansion worlds, they proclaim the great law of the conservation and dominance of goodness. No act of good is ever wholly lost. It may be long thwarted, but never wholly annulled. And it is eternally potent in proportion to the divinity of its motivation.
So whenever you do anything good, not only on this planet and anything good in the future, those things are never lost. They always pay off over time. Okay. All right. And the seraphic evangels proclaim this gospel of eternal progression, right? And the triumph of perfection attainment. So what they do is they pump you up and get you ready for the journey, right? So they're kind of your, what would you say? Counselors and cheerers on. Yeah, right.
Motivational.
Motivational speakers. Yeah, right, for us. Jane, would you take the first one there?
Okay.
Actually, Jane, that's part of the rest of it. So these are all different different paragraphs. That's why they had numbers in front of them. But I want you to read the whole thing. Okay?
Okay.
Follow me? All
Yes.
right. And I'll move it up as you get down there.
All righty.
All right.
Even on Urantia, they counseled the human teachers of truth and righteousness to adhere to the preaching of the goodness of God, which leads to repentance, to proclaim the love of God, which casts out all fear. Even so have these truths been declared on your world. 1. The gods are my caretakers, I shall not stray. Side by side they lead me in the beautiful paths and glorious refreshing of life everlasting. I shall not in this divine presence want for food nor thirst for water. Though I go down into the valley of uncertainty or ascend up onto the worlds of doubt. Though I move in loneliness or with the fellows of my kind, though I triumph in the choirs of light or falter in the solitary places of the spheres, your good spirit shall minister to me, and your glorious angel will comfort me. Though I descend into the paths of darkness and death itself, I shall not doubt you nor fear you. For I know that in the fullness of time and the glory of your name, you will raise me up to sit with you on the battlements on high.
Recognize most of that?
Yeah, the good shepherd, I shall
The
not
good
want.
shepherd. That's
Oh,
right. That's exactly the
Psalms.
story. That's the
Yeah.
psalm. That's right. All right. So Millie, would you take the next paragraph because it explains what this is?
Yes. That is the story whispered in the night, seasoned to the shepherd boy. Yes, you know that.
Yeah.
He could not retain it word for word, but to the best of his memory, he gave it much as it is recorded today.
And it's pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. So have to give him credit for sure. Gary, would you take the next one?
Okay. These seraphim are also the evangels of the gospel of perfection attainment for the whole system as well as for the individual ascender. Even now in the young system of Santania, their teachings and plans encompass provisions for.
Well, you dropped out, Gary. Hang on.
Am I back?
You're back now. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. Even now in the young system of Santania, your teachings and plans encompass provisions for the future ages when the mansion worlds will no longer serve the mortal ascenders as stepping stones to the spheres on high.
Okay. And we've talked about that before, right? How the mansion world will serve for the finaliters. But the point I want to make sure we don't miss is that the seraphic evangels are the ones that taught this to the shepherd boy. Okay, so that was the seraphic evangels that actually taught it to him, and he repeated that. Okay.
May I ask a question, Roger?
Yes.
Same
Jane.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it written in the book at what context or what prompted them to reveal that to him?
No, it's not. It's just part of their ministry.
Hmm.
So, occasionally, it's kind of funny that we don't talk about this a whole lot. Occasionally, revelation is given to individuals on the planets at random. Okay. And this is a good example of that this was told to the shepherd boy, right? Now, why they chose to do that, it's totally up to the evangels themselves, but they don't do that normally on a regular basis. So this is very, very special when this happens. It really is. Rodney, what was your question?
Well, I was, without knowing the history and the Bible as much as maybe I should, was the shepherd boy someone important?
No,
It wasn't David.
no.
It was just a random shepherd boy.
Simple shepherd boy that relayed the story.
Well, he must have. Did he write this down or?
You got me on
repeat it?
that.
Okay.
You got me right.
Just as he must have
gotta
been in a
remember-
position
Yeah,
that they knew
he would
the
repeat it.
revelators
Yeah.
knew that it would
Well, remember
make
too,
a difference.
how the Jews. This would have been a Jewish boy, right? Remember how the Jewish boys would learn their lessons by recital, right? So this is a perfect example. They would repeat. They would say something to him, and then they would repeat it back to him, and that's how they learned the scriptures back then.
Right.
Remember, because there was very few written text of anything, and many of them would get all the way through school, and they wouldn't be able to totally read and write. They would be able to know. They knew it by recital. The
Exactly.
Shazam would get up in front of them and say something, and then as students they'd repeat it back to them, right?
Mhm.
And more than likely, that's how this happened. Same way.
It's just interesting.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, they said in the beginning that it was given it to him, and he relayed it to the best of his memory, which was pretty good.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
And you've got to remember, with that method of teaching they used in the synagogue, I would imagine their ability to retain stuff word for word was pretty good.
Probably. And if we go down here, remember we're at racial interpreters next. If we go down here to the bottom of this, I'm sure we have the verse probably under Bible references here.
Mhm.
Let me see here.
Yeah, it would be good to know. I
Yeah.
could show my mom.
There it is, Psalms 23,
23.
right? The 23rd Psalm, that's what it is. This is it as he remembered it right here. You see my mouse?
And Roger, like David's messengers, they would relay messages too. So they were
Exactly.
good at recording in their brain.
That's right. All right, so let's go back. So y'all can hit that link and look it up if you want to. You can click on this link under Psalm 23. Also, it'll take you right to it.
Okay.
All right, just to let y'all know. All right, let me go back up here. Back to that place. There we go. Racial interpreters. All right. Now who's up? Who just read?
I did. Oh, Millie did, I think.
Millie did? No,
Did
Gary
you
did. Gary, okay, it's you,
I
Diane.
don't remember.
Yeah, it's Gary.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, it was you. 2, racial interpreters. All races of mortal beings are not alike. True, there is a planetary pattern running through the physical, mental, and spiritual natures and tendencies of the various races of a given world. There are also distinct racial types and very definite social tendencies characterize the offspring of these different basic types of human beings. On the worlds of time, the seraphic racial interpreters further the efforts of the race commissioners to harmonize the varied viewpoints of the races, and they continue to function on the mansion worlds, where these same differences tend to persist in a measure. On a confused planet such as Urantia, these brilliant beings have hardly had a fair opportunity to function, but they are the skillful sociologists and the wise ethnic advisors of the first heaven.
And there you have it right there in the book. It tells us that racially we're different, right? We have different cultures. We have different ways of thinking about things, different ways of doing things. And these differences persist even into the first mansion world. So these racial interpreters work on the planet, but they can't work as well as they do on the first mansion world. Because why? They can't relay the information to us. Okay, so if you think about it, a big part of the first mansion world and their job is for these racial interpreters to straighten out all of our differences between the different races that's come up on every single planet, right? All right.
Wish they were here now.
They are. They're here on this planet. It's just hard for them to work because, you know, they might whisper something in our ear and we don't want to listen, right? Yeah. That's the whole problem. If they appeared before us and say, hey, listen, stupid, it's not this way, you know, which is probably what we need, but they're not allowed to do it that way, right? All right.
Roger,
Yeah.
the Morancha world, there's absolutely no race. We all have the same type body.
Right.
The only thing difference would be the racial backpack we brought with us.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about here, Rodney, because when we get all these bodies, these blanks, we come into these new bodies as brand new beings, really, if you think about it. But all the memories and all of our tendencies are still from the earth, right? From the previous life. And so that's why, for instance, if you were an Indian on this planet, when you woke up on the mansion world, you would still have the thoughts, memories, and patterns of someone that was Indian, right? Or if you were Black, you would still have the thoughts, the memories, and the patterns, sociology of someone who was Black. So that's why this is such a job for the racial interpreters when they get on the planet, because everybody will be the same race, and yet they will have different characteristics and backgrounds from being on a planet, right? All right, so that's why they try to.
Question.
Yeah. No.
Is this just interpreting the races from our planet when we go from all the planets who get
all
there?
all the planets, Millie.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because they all have, all the planets have 7 races, almost all of them. All right, now get this. I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in this. What if you were like the aliens that were gray? Okay, they have 7 races on their planet also. Okay, so maybe they have different variations of the gray race. You know, maybe some of them are more gray red, some of them are more gray blue, some of them are more green. You know what I'm saying? So these racial differences are the same on all the planets, regardless of whether you look like us or not. That you would still have differences from one race to the next, right? The other thing you might think about is, I don't like to put a lot of this in here, but think about, I don't know how many of y'all watched any of the stuff for Dr. Greer, but he had done an interview of who was that, Doris or something like that, worked at Air Force place, and he said that the aliens that crashed, some of them were gray and some of them were green, right? So in the same ship, all right. So that's an indication that they would have different races right on this in the same ship from that same planet, right? If you think about it. So it's just a variation, and those variations create problems in every planet that has to be worked out, right? Now, I'm going to give you one more. When we get to the mansion worlds, we have to deal with the variations of those other types of beings ourselves, right? So we don't only have to deal with the race of all the races on our planet, we have to deal with the races on all the other planets that go to that first mansion world. All 619 of them right now. Okay, so think about it like this. We got 619 times 7 different races. that we,
Maybe all the green ones are similar in personalities on each planet.
maybe so. So we have a lot of work for the racial interpreters, don't we? Think about it.
That is
All right,
4,333.
there you
different.
go. Thank you, Gary.
You're
That's
welcome.
really helpful.
Okay, I see. I think Rodney's up again.
Oh, okay. 553.4.
Yeah. Mhm.
You should consider the statement about, quote, heaven and the, quote, heaven of heavens. The heaven conceived by most of your prophets was the first of the mansion worlds of the local system. When the apostles spoke of being, quote, caught up in the third heaven, he referred to that experience in which his adjuster was detached during sleep, and in this unusual state made a projection to the third of the 7 mansion worlds. Some of your wise men saw the vision of the greater heaven, quote, the heaven of heavens, of which the 7-fold mansion world experience was but the first, the second being Jerusalem, the third, Urantia and its satellites, the fourth, Salvington and the surrounding educational spheres, the fifth, Uversa, the sixth, Havana, the seventh, Paradise.
Now I could spend the rest of the time just talking about this paragraph, but I'm going to try to make it short. Okay. The first point is talk about the apostle what he saw first, and what the wise men, some of the wise men of the past saw. Okay. But all of these are referring to an experience in which the adjuster was attached during sleep, and it was the adjuster that relayed these visions to whoever they are talking about, right? Whether it be an apostle, a wise man, or whomever. Okay, so these things that's in the Old and New Testament, when they talk about the heavens and the heavens of heavens and that sort of thing, they explain to us what these are right here. All right, that being Jerusalem being one of them, Urantia being one of them, Salvington, Uversa, Havana, and Paradise, the 7 heavens right there. Okay, so you can interpret that right off this paragraph. All right, that's why I'm saying I could spend an hour just on this. So when we consider the statement heaven or the statement heaven of heavens, what they're talking about is what? Planets, right? That's basically what they're saying, because these are the spheres that we go to. This heaven and the heaven of heavens, all the heaven type stuff usually have something to do with either the mansion worlds or the system capital or the local universe capital or the super universe capital, and even Havona and paradise, right? All right, so that covers a lot of territory. All right,
Now you're confusing me.
all right,
These Salvington, Uversa, etc.,
right.
are they actual physical worlds? Or are they spiritual worlds?
They-
Because I understand as we move on to the next Rancha world,
Right.
we become semi thick.
We're a different
materialized.
dimension. That's right, Gary.
Huh?
But the worlds themselves are still physical.
Okay.
They are. All the worlds, even in Havona, all the way into paradise, they're still physical worlds. They're just made up of different material. Okay. So as you go from the Morantia worlds, everything has the 100 physical elements, but the Morantia worlds have 100 more elements for all the Morantia worlds. Okay.
Mhm.
When you get to Uversa, you have, I think it's 256 elements. And then when you get to Havona and paradise, you have 1,000 elements, the physical elements I'm talking about, right? On top of that, you still have the elements of both the Morantia and the more spiritual elements like Havona and paradise. And that's made up of what's called absolutum, okay? Which is a material much like the regular material that makes up planets, but it's just got more atoms, okay? So that's kind of why they appear on different dimensions, because the movement of the atoms are totally different than the finite movement of our atoms. Okay, so you can think of a dimension as how fast that these atoms go around the nucleus. Okay, so you could probably assume that as you go up closer and closer to spiritual, the atoms move at a greater rate and there's more of them. So you wouldn't see them in the physical sense unless you were that type of being yourself. Does that make sense?
It does, Roger, but I have a question about that.
Yeah, go ahead, Roger.
Something I've been thinking of. To me, that means there would be more heat, because
Yes.
that's when you heat these things up, they move faster.
Yeah.
Or
And
if they move faster, they cause heat.
well, I'm going to throw another monkey wrench in, Rodney. It could be that they move slower, right? Not faster. So it could be either way. We're just assuming that that's the case because they mentioned the fastness of the atoms in the papers itself. So, so it could, because I know on all the architectural spheres, you have light without heat. Remember
Correct.
that? Okay, all of them have light without heat. So if they have light without heat, then that means there couldn't be something moving that fast to create the heat, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, that make you more confused, or does that help at all?
More confused, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Jane.
Okay. When we're referring here, where they conceived heavens, and I think they're referring to Paul, well, maybe other prophets like whoever. The first
John Zebedee was one of them. Yeah, one of the prophets would be Revelation, the book of Revelation.
book of Revelation.
That's another example. Yeah.
My question is the first mentioned world.
Right.
I can hardly imagine that to be defined as a heaven, the first mentioned world. Because aren't we still kind of backwards in the first mentioned world?
Yeah.
And there are so many of us and so few administering to large numbers. I would think it would not represent a heaven as such.
Well, that would be a good assumption, Jane, except for the fact they tell us that the first mansion world is 100 times better than the most advanced planet.
Oh, how wonderful.
So
That's good enough for me.
yeah, yeah. So if it's 100 times better than the most advanced planet, it must be pretty
Heaven.
nice.
That's
Yeah,
heaven.
it's heaven. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Anything like that would be heaven to us, right?
Yeah, I stand corrected.
No. We hope that cleared some of
That's
it up.
that's heaven, yes.
Yeah, let me put it this way. Anything in the mansion worlds that is bad is because my interpretation of relaying it has been bad.
No, I didn't think that at all. I just
Oh, I
know
know. I'm just saying,
it's an adjustment planet too, but it's still much
is.
better than Earth. Yeah,
Plus the fact, Jane, that when they talked about this in the Old and the New Testament, they gave us very little information, right?
true.
I mean, we didn't have much to go by.
No.
Really, if you studied all the references for heaven in both the Old and the New Testament and read the book of Revelation to your green, you still don't have enough information to explain the mansion worlds. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's just hard to understand. All right. Actually, till this book came along, I thought I was so smart when I was in ministerial school about the book of Revelation. Man, I was an expert on it and I didn't know nothing. When it came right down to it, my interpretation of it was totally wrong. And everything I read about it was totally wrong, So, it's all in your understanding, I think, right? All right. Let's see, who's up? I think, Jane, I think you're up. Mind planners.
Okay. Three, mind planners. These seraphim are devoted to the effective grouping of Morontia being and to organizing their teamwork on the mentioned worlds. They are the psychologists of the first heaven. The majority of this particular division of seraphic ministers have had previous experience as guardian angels to the children of time, but their words for some reason fail to personalize on the mentioned worlds or else survive by the technique of spirit fusion.
So since their wards did not survive, it freed them up as guardian angels to become mind planners. Okay. And as mind planners, they can help us organize the teamwork on the mansion worlds. Now, why would, before I get off of this, why would their wards fail to personalize on the mansion world?
Roger,
Yeah.
what does that mean to
That means
personalize?
they did not survive.
They did not fuse with their adjuster.
No, they did not
didn't
survive.
choose.
They didn't choose to
Choose.
survive. Yeah. In other
But
words,
their words
yeah, their wards
failed to
did not.
personalize. Oh,
Yeah,
they never made it there for
they made
some
it.
reason.
Yeah, for one reason or another, they either
Okay.
chose not to survive or there was nothing salvageable about them. All right.
I understand.
The other one, the survive by the technique of spirit fusion. Why would they not need their guardian angels any longer?
Well,
Because they would fuse with a local universe fragment of the sun or the spirit, right? And when they do that, they become permanent local universe citizens. Okay, so they would no longer need a guardian angel to go on past the local universe. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So the work of
they
the
are
guardian,
stuck.
huh?
They're stuck.
They're stuck here, right? They're stuck in this local universe. And so the work of the guardian angels would be taken up by all the millions of types of angels that are assigned to help us in the local universe. Okay. Remember, a guardian angel is assigned to the being and stays with that being all the way through the process, right? So when you wake up on the mansion world, your guardian angels, both of them will be right there beside you. Okay. And you will actually meet them. Okay. And those same guardian angels will go with you on your pathway through the mansion worlds. All right. And that's the difference. All right. So the mind planners, let's get back to them. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. It is the task, yes.
Yeah.
It is the task of the mind planners to study the nature, experience, and status of the adjuster souls in transit through the mansion worlds, and to facilitate their grouping for assignment and advancement. But these mind planners do not scheme. I lost my place. Do not scheme, manipulate, or otherwise take advantage of the ignorance or other limitations of mansion world students.
Thank
They are
God.
wholly fair. I'm sorry, what?
I said, thank God.
They are wholly fair and eminently just. They respect your newborn Morantia will. They regard you as an independent volitional beings, and they seek to encourage your speedy development and advancement. Here you are face to face with true friends and understanding counselors, angels who are really able to help you to see yourself as others see you. That's a quote unquote, and to know yourself as angels know you. Now, that's a
Okay.
quote. I don't remember. I can't imagine who would have said that.
Yeah. So these mind planners help you with in your assignments, group assignments and advancement as you go along. They put you in the proper groupings and do the proper introduction so that as you go through and make your advancement, it's the best pathway for you to do, right? And so that's why they call them mind planners. They help plan from your mind what is best for you. Okay. Everything's always there to help you. Yeah. All right. Gary, would you take the next one?
Okay, even on Urantia, these seraphim teach the everlasting truth. If your own mind does not serve you well, you can exchange it for the mind of Jesus of Nazareth, who always serves you well.
And how do you do that?
Hmm?
To the spirit of truth, right? The
Yeah.
spirit of truth is always there. So if you're ever confused and you think your mind is not serving you well, you can always ask for help from the spirit of Jesus, right? And he will always serve you well. That's pretty comforting if you think about it.
Mhm.
All right. Diane, would
You
you
know, I got to tell you a short story.
go ahead.
I heard of a man that was quite wealthy, religious man,
Yeah.
and people would come to him with these various business opportunities.
Wait a minute, Gary, you popped out on us there.
He time and think about it.
All right, now start off. They came to him with business opportunities and what? Because you
They
popped out.
come to him with business opportunities, and he would just kind of bide his time and just kind of pray on it.
Uh-huh.
And he would wait for a sign to say yes or no before he went ahead with any deal. And
Mhm.
that's what made him successful in his attitude. It wasn't him. He
Yeah.
gave it to somebody else,
Yeah.
a higher being.
Yeah. The mind of Jesus, really. Yeah. Spirit of truth or the Holy Spirit, either one, That's interesting. Diane, would you take the next
4. Morantia counselors. These ministers receive their name because they are assigned to teach, direct, and counsel the surviving mortals from the worlds of human origin, souls in transit to the higher schools of the system headquarters. They are the teachers of those who seek insight into the experiential unity of divergent life levels. Those who are attempting the integration of meanings and the unification of values. This is the function of philosophy in mortal life, the mode of the Morantia spheres.
Okay, now these are the true counselors, right? Of the seraphim, the Morantia counselors, all right? Let's go on and learn a little bit about MODA here. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Moda is more than a superior philosophy. It is to philosophy as two eyes are to one. It has a stereoscopic effect on meanings and values. Material man sees the universe as it were, but with one eye, flat. Mansion world students achieve cosmic perspective, depth, by superimposing the perceptions of the Urantia life upon the perceptions of the physical life. And they are enabled to bring these material and Urantia viewpoints into true focus, largely through the enduring ministry of their seraphic counselors, who so patiently teach the mansion world students and the Urantia progressors. Many of the teaching counselors of the Supreme Order of Seraphim begin their careers as advisors of the newly liberated souls of the mortals of time.
Okay, so they help us to bring in the focus our one-eye viewpoint, our flat viewpoint, into a more what? Cosmic viewpoint, cosmic depth and understanding, right? So they help us go from a flat idea to a 3D idea, right? If you think about it, all right, that's what these counselors do, all right? Pretty nice, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, nice to have beings like that. All right, Jane, would you take the next one? 5 technicians.
5 technicians. These are the seraphim who help new ascenders adjust themselves to the new and comparatively strange environment of the Urantia spheres. Life on the transition worlds entail real contact with the energies and materials of both the physical and Urantia levels, and to a certain extent with spiritual realities. Ascenders must acclimatize to every new Urantia level, and in all of this, they are greatly helped by the seraphic technicians. These seraphim act as liaisons with the Urantia power supervisors and with the master physical controllers, and function extensively as instructors of the ascending pilgrims concerning the nature of those energies which are utilized on the transition spheres. They serve as emergency space traversers and perform numerous other regular and special duties.
So these technicians help us get used to this new reality we're stepping into, this new dimension, right? Because we'll have energies and materials both, which we're not used to. So they'll help us transition from just a finite world into the Urantia world. Make sense? And that's why they work with the Urantia power supervisors and the master physical controllers to help us do this. Let me see how much we got left. It's quite a bit. All right, I think we're going to have to stop there. And next time we'll start on recorder teachers. Yeah. All right. So let's say a little prayer and we will quit for tonight. Let's see, who wants to pray tonight? Gary, would you like to pray for us tonight?
No.
No? Okay. How about you, Jane? Would you like to pray for us tonight?
Sure. Beloved Father, we give you thanks and we praise your holy name, and we thank you for all your creation. We thank you for this moment in time where you have given us the grace and the privilege to learn and to open our minds, our hearts, to accept the Spirit of truth, to welcome the Holy Spirit, and to love all of your creation and to love this this book of Revelations. We thank you for everybody who worked so hard at making it known to us. We thank you especially for Roger and Diane for their time, for all the preparations that they do. We thank you for everybody that listens or ever has listened or will listen in the future. Unite us all in the spirit of wisdom. And we thank you in Jesus of Nazareth name, Michael of Nebadon. Amen.
Amen. And thank everyone for at home for joining us. Please come see us again. Let me stop the recording here if I can find the thing up here.
And she did a very good job of praying.
She did.
They can pray from now
You
on.
all. Thank you all.
Okay.
We
I
see
will
you
see you
next
all.